Well. What's going on? First the government's exposed, then the media, then business, and now the courts. What's up, everybody? Joel's back with another message of divine light just for you. And today I'm going to be talking about the Great Awakening, or rather, the Great Exposure. It seems like a lot of all the various aspects of society have been lining up for the last year, and they've all been exposing the corruption within themselves.
Corrupted.
Corrupted.
No, it
Yeah.
says software corrupted.
They've all been exposing themselves as not capable of sustainably running a responsible world in a new era. It just seems that the rugs have been rolled back, and everything that was hidden or kept secret is now being pulled to the surface. And it's dusty, it's dank, it's nasty. We would rather not have to face this stuff, but we are, because it can't be allowed to continue. It can't be allowed to continue as we move forward into the Messianic age. Because all that stuff that people have been poo-pooing as conspiracy theories, they're going to see. They're going to see. So let them rejoice. I mean, the media has declared their king, Absalom or Adonia. Just let them rejoice, because don't forget, Al Gore thought he was the president for a while too, and we know what happened there. Or do we? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because all these things are getting exposed. I thought the world was over in 2001 with the WTC, but I've seen a shift, particularly ever since my awakening in 2012, and we're just accelerating. We're just accelerating, and we're here. We're here. We're making these videos. You're watching these videos. That's it. So yeah, it might look like dystopia for a while to the ego, but to the true soul, it's utopia, because we know what's coming, and we know that it's just cleaning out the mess. What's happening is that all the aspects of society are lining up like dominoes, and they're lining up perfectly to expose all of their corruption, so that when the great exposure comes, and it is coming, when that great exposure comes, they will all be there lined up to face their justice. It's coming. It's coming.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
And so I just wanted to share a little insight I had into the scriptures. This one comes from Daniel yet again. What can I say? We are literally in a time when this is the book that's being brought to the surface. And it's not a coincidence. Daniel is the book of hidden things. This is the book that is shut up and sealed till the end of time. And I'm starting to see that the veil is being lifted, and little by little, people around the world, little pockets here, little pockets there, are starting to understand the deeper meaning of this. A lot of the Jewish teachers are coming out saying, now is the time. We're in the birth pangs, and we're seeing a new earth, a new world, a new era being born right before our eyes. For the rabbis to say this is not a joke. We are literally in the time of change. I don't need to tell you that. But the gravity, or should I say, the magnitude of this momentum of change, it's like nothing we've seen before. And what's coming is out of this world. And that's what I want to share right now, because what I've seen is that all these aspects that are lining up are like the layers on the statue which Nebuchadnezzar saw in his dream. In reading from the text, this is Daniel's description of what the king dreamed. Now, I want to make it known that normally what I do when I'm reading these scriptures, specifically the Hebrew scriptures, I read them straight from the Hebrew. That's how I understand it, because being a linguist and doing all the word studies, I've come to the conclusion that translations, for the most part, now, if you want to read for the gist of it, that's fine. But if you're reading for the deeper hidden meaning that has been hidden for millennia, right? We want to crack the code. And that's what we're finding out by really understanding the words here. So I go straight to the original languages and I do my best to do a word-by-word translation when I recite them on the show. Because in all other videos, I just translate the text myself and post my best translation for you guys. But this is in Aramaic, and since I'm not so well versed in the language to do a direct translation on my own, I'm just going to be reading from the Mechon Mamre translation. So Daniel's description of the king's dream is as follows. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This image, which was mighty, and whose brightness was surpassing, stood before thee, and the appearance thereof was terrible. As for that image, its head was of fine gold, its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of brass, its legs of iron, its feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken in pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, so that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. And then, of course, when Daniel's interpreting the dream, he explains that Nebuchadnezzar was the king to whom the Elohim have given the power to rule, and he's represented by the head of fine gold. And then after him, another kingdom will come and replace his kingdom, but it will be of an inferior metal. And knowing what we know about alchemy, we can see the stages through gold and silver. And of course, we have quicksilver included with the silver category. And then we have brass, which includes copper and tin. So we're moving through the planetary spheres. And as we go from the highest sphere, which is, of course, the gold sun, to the lowest sphere, which is represented by lead, we actually go even lower than lead, which we go straight into the clay of the earth. Now, the metals are, of course, refined out of the earth, but we go all the way down, not to lead, but even further than lead, to just miry clay. And the clay is trying to bond with the iron, and the iron and clay don't mix like iron ore. But what really hit me is that these, while they might be representative of empires in the past throughout history, what really struck me is that they actually represent, alchemically, systems and aspects of society that we actually experience on a day-to-day basis. For example, the head is represented by the zodiacal signs Aries and Taurus, and that represents control and, of course, the brain of the situation. Well, what's the brain? Government. And then you have the breast and the arms. Well, what does that represent? The arms are the feelers, the outreachers, the doers, but they are also the manipulators, the changers, and the kingdom that came after the Babylonians were the Medes and the Persians. The Medes is actually where we get our word media from. And included in the heart and the throat, that is the expression. And obviously, in symbolic terms, this can be represented as the media, and the heart can be representative of the health system. Then we go down to the brass, and we see that in the brass, we have tin and copper, which are mixed, and that represents Venus and Jupiter. But what does that represent are aspects of home. So it's the thighs and the belly, and these are the middle lower chakras, which represent the merchants and the artisans. And in Daniel's explanation, he even says, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And we see that commerce basically runs the whole show. The economy of the world is run by business, and big businesses have been exposed for monopolizing industries. Continuing on, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and beateth down all things, and as iron that crusheth all these, shall it break in pieces and crush. And of course, iron is the strongest of all these metals, but it is also the cheapest of all these metals. Being the strongest aspect of all these, it represents force, it represents the military, and it represents the armies of the earth. This all has to be lined up in order to expose the corruption in all of them, so that a new system, the rock that's carved without human hands, can come and smash this old world and establish a new kingdom that's not of this world, but that fills the entire earth. But it's got to smash those feet that are part clay and part iron, which never mix. Iron is strong, but clay is even more brittle than the gold, and it's worthless. But what are we looking at? The feet which support the whole structure. What does the whole structure stand on? It's supposed to stand on justice. And what is the justice represented by? The courts. Well, the courts are more divided than anybody else. Hence the iron and the clay, which shall never mix. And yet the whole system stands on their jurisdictions. We have to see the entire system collapse. And the very people that we had trusted in, the very institutions that we had put our faith in, have to be exposed for fraudulent behavior and manipulation of us, so that we say, no more. We are taking our power back. We are the kings and queens of our reality, of our experience, and of our futures. We are in charge of this earth now. That's all it takes. In the days of those kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, but it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. The entire system of humanity is due for a revamping. But it's due for a revamping from the stone which the builders rejected. That stone is the philosopher's stone. And when you raise the philosopher's stone, or you raise the chrism, the Christ within you, we usher in the Messianic era. This is not a joke. This is the new race of humanity that is coming forward. It is a humanity that knows how to alchemize our internal chemistry, raise the chrism, and be the enlightened Elohim that we were created as. It's time to reclaim the Garden of Eden, reclaim our power back. We're not here to play games. We're here to literally be the kings, priests, and prophets of the new earth. We are in charge. We're taking our power back, and we're ushering in the Christic era, where consciousness rules, awareness is king, and fear and manipulation and all that nonsense is a thing of the past, just a bad memory, almost as if we had a bad dream and we just woken up in a completely new world. All these things are symbolic. We have to incorporate them within ourselves for us to experience it in the outer world. And we've been doing that. We've been on a decades-long transition, but we've been doing it. We've been consciously doing it. But now that we've crossed the threshold where we know we're consciously doing it, let's really take our power back and up the ante. Let's really usher in peace on earth, a utopia, because it's time. It's time. We're tired of the old ways, and we have a vision to move forward. So let's do it. All right. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and do all that jazz. I'm going to see you in the next video. I hope you have an amazing day. Be well, be optimistic. Don't give up. The fight has already been won. The new world is already blossoming. We're gonna eat its fruit soon. Agape, Salaam, Namaste. Peace out.